Alrighty, fellas. We are here on a Wednesday night. We're going to be talking some fantasy football. We got some injury updates and stuff that I'm going to get into, and as well as going to talk a little bit of some fantasy football and stuff like that. We'll check into the SGS league and everything as well. Real quick, I'm going to do a little send over to this. Okay, so obviously I do have to say first off, Jack's bench went crazy this week. So Jack, congratulations for your bench going absolutely the fuck off. You got the deepest fucking team in the league, dude. Jack, you're an absolute fucking monster, bro. Absolute monster. Great year for Jack so far. Anyways, so we're going to go through some of the injury reports and everything that we're seeing. I'm going to check on Underdog NFL. I feel like Underdog really gives you a lot of good in-depth info of what is going on in the league right now. Obviously, we're monitoring Jaden Daniels' injury right now. They're kind of on the side of caution with it for week 3 right now, according to Rappaport. So the chances of Jaden Daniels playing this week are kind of looking like it's not going to happen. So obviously the offensive efficiency of the Commanders is going to go down if Jaden Daniels isn't playing. So just kind of looking at that from a whole, that's definitely a very important thing. Zach Charbonnet didn't practice Wednesday as well. So going to have to monitor that. If Charbonnet doesn't end up playing this week, Kenneth Walker is definitely going up in stock for this Sunday for sure if Charbonnet doesn't end up playing. Will Shipley, oblique, not anything fantasy related. Now, I didn't realize that this was going on. So apparently Ladd McConkey didn't practice Wednesday as well. So it's a bicep issue. So this will be something closely to monitor. If Ladd McConkey doesn't end up playing this week either, Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnston, their stocks are going to go up this week. So that's some unfortunate news for Ladd McConkey fantasy owners. But, yeah, overall just definitely something to keep their eye on. RJ Harvey, an important piece of what we're doing. Okay, well, we know that he's eventually going to take over this backfield at some point. Ashton Genty on being ready for a larger workload. Yeah, whatever. Chris Godwin's kind of starting to get back into practice, but obviously he's not going to be able to play for sure until week 5. Ibuka is also hurt, so he's not practicing. He's got a hip and groin issue, so another thing to monitor right there. That's Mike Evans fantasy owners. Boom, 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 boom. That's definitely looking like something you would look forward to. Really, I mean, seeing if there's anyone else in here. Turpin, Tyler Warren didn't practice, or Josh Downs either. So there's a couple other guys that aren't practicing Wednesday. You got Jawan Jennings, shoulder and ankle, did not practice as well. Purdy has a chance to play week 3. They were saying that he had a 2 to 5 week window of him coming back fully healthy with his turf toe. But definitely some optimism to see that he could actually play this week. Now, we'll just kind of have to see if he's going to be fully healthy. But Goddard's practicing again. Khalil Mack on IR. Let's see. Darren Waller ruled out. Whatever. Questionable for Jalen Waddle. Aaron Jones on IR. That's huge news for Jordan Mason fantasy owners, for me, an example. So, big news for Jordan Mason. His stock goes up. Aaron Jones will probably be out for, obviously, at least 4 games. We'll kind of have to see what happens with him. So, Aaron Jones hurt. There were some other people that were hurt, too, if I'm not mistaken. I can't really remember anyone else. Obviously, Joe Burrow. I mean, the Joe Burrow loss is pretty substantial for the Bengals, for people who have Jamar Chase, people who have T. Higgins. for people who have Chase Brown. Obviously, the offense is going to kind of slow down a little bit, but I do think Jake Browning is a solid backup. So I do know that they will take a hit in their offense, but obviously I still think that those guys are still going to be must-start guys every week, especially depending on the matchups and stuff. So, but that is a big loss. Joe Burrow's pretty much not even going to be fantasy relevant. He isn't going to be a part pretty much of the rest of the fantasy season, pretty much. So, just unfortunate news right there. His career's been plagued with injuries, so that's just the reality of things. So, anyways, we're gonna go to the league. We'll kind of look at. Let's see here. So we have. Let's see. That is not what I was looking for. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so a couple fantasy moves or waiver wire pickups from this week. Obviously, there's a few different guys out there that did have some value that were out there currently. One of them being Kyle Monungai. Another one being Blake Corum. Blake Corum was another solid one to pick up just because we've kind of seen Kyron Williams' snap rate and everything kind of go down. Blake Corum's kind of getting a lot of goal line work, so there's a little bit of skepticism there going on so far. Other than that, I mean, just for our league, I mean, Pat Bryant was a big pickup this week too. Pat Bryant had a blow-up game this past weekend. Definitely looking like he's the number 2 guy in the offense for the Denver Broncos. So definitely, I think in my mind, he was the top guy to pick up waiver wire this week. So that was a big move right there. Otherwise, I mean, there's not really a lot of other guys that have a lot of intriguement to me that were picked up this week. The waiver was kind of dead this week, just for our league in general, just because it's a deep league. So there's not really a lot of people out there that have a lot of value that are currently out on the waivers. So I'll just kind of briefly, I know it's late, I'm going to just kind of briefly go through some of the week 2 matchups that we had. Obviously, me and Carson had our week. Let me switch this around real quick. But yeah, obviously, me and Carson had our matchup this week. My team came out with a dub. Good bounce back week for me. Malik Neighbors, Tucker Kraft, huge performances. Love to see it from the guys. So very excited to have that. Obviously, Drake May had a great game for you, Carson. J.K. Dobbins, McMillan as well. Overall, great week for me. Hopefully, I can keep it going, keep it flowing. We look at Easton, who I am playing this week. He got the dub against Dylan. Dak Prescott with 22. You had Jahmyr Gibbs with 19. Chuba with 16. So great performances from the running backs. I am ready to brawl Easton. Let's freaking go, man. I'm very excited for this matchup. Dylan's team, unfortunately, didn't do too much. Brian Thomas has been a disappointment so far this year. Jordan Love had a solid performance. Ashton Genty's, obviously, he's had some disappointing performances as well. But Dylan goes to 0-2. Easton's now 1-1. We look at Andy and Bryce's matchup this week. Bryce's team, what a bounce back, man. After putting up a dud performance week 1, Bryce's team listened and they went straight to town. Jamar Chase with a massive performance. Bo Nix bounce back. Kenneth Walker with a great performance as well. So huge performances from some of Bryce's guys. And then Andy's team had a little bit of a down week. Mahomes with 22, CD with 15, Smith-Njigba with 14. So very solid wide receiver group, but the running backs definitely looks like the running backs definitely plagued you this week. I could just click the box score real quick and look, but yeah, I mean, Charbonnet, Travion Henderson, Pacheco putting up a combined 9.4 points. So definitely don't want to see that from your running backs any time of the year. Seth 2-0 now on the season. Taking down Tuck, Puka Nacua with a huge performance, but Brandon Aubrey with 23. Massive performance from Brandon Aubrey this week. Obviously, he's definitely, if not he's the best kicker in the league, in my opinion, and he's kind of worth a 7th, 8th round pick with the performances that he can put up on a week-to-week basis sometimes. And then with Tuck's team, I mean, McCaffrey with 19, Herbert with 18, Jaylen Warren with 15. So overall, looking like that kind of took a hit from the wide receivers, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, Zay Flowers didn't put up a bad performance, but Garrett Wilson with only 7, Evan Ingram with only 1 point. So Dallas Cowboys defense putting up -4. So couldn't really predict the Cowboys defense to give up that many points against the Giants, obviously. But Seth goes to 2-0. Tuck's now 1-1. Yeah, I know. He's a Bengals and a Brandon Aubrey merchant, man. We look at Jace and Jack's matchup this week. Obviously, Jack, his bench went absolutely nuts. It's the reason why he won this game. And, I mean, Jace's team, Devon Achane with 22, Jacobs with 14, and the Chargers defense putting up a 14-point performance as well. Looking like overall the wide receivers for him didn't do too well either. I mean, it wasn't like they didn't do too bad. It was just like not breakout performances like you go to Jack's team, and Jameson Williams put up 18. James Cook with 26, who's number 1 in fantasy currently. James Cook putting up a pretty big back-to-back performances to start his season. He's got a heavier workload with the Buffalo Bills now. And then Baker Mayfield with a pretty solid performance as well. Jack is now 2-0. And then look at the bench, man. Goodness gracious. Rashad White with 13, Hopkins with 13, Jawan Jennings with 17, Cooper Kupp with 12. My goodness, man. That's nuts. But yeah, the Justin Fields injury definitely hurt you too, Jace. Unfortunately, going to look like you're probably going to have to start a different QB. I don't know if you still have Trevor Lawrence or not. He might have picked someone up. I have no idea. I didn't really do my research on that. And then you had Chance and Burt going at it this week. Burt's team had a bounce-back performance. Amon-Ra with an absolute amazing performance from him with 34 points. He had 3 touchdowns in that game. Javonte Williams with 22, and then Jaden Daniels with 19. Roma Dunze with 28 for Chance. Lamar with 26. Bucky Irvin with 15. It was just too much to handle with the big performances that Burt got from his team this week. So, obviously kind of breaking these down. I mean, just overall insane performances from some of these guys. DeAndre Swift had a pretty solid outing as well. Tyler Warren's been looking pretty good to start this season at tight end. So overall, great performances from Burt's squad. He now goes to 1-1, and Chance is now 1-1. We got a lot of 1-1s in this league. And then we had Kyle and Connor go at it this week. Connor is now 2-0. Put up 122 this week. Got Devontae Adams with 19, Bijan with 18, and then the Seahawks defense with 16. We had some pretty decent defensive performances this week. I mean, because the Cardinals defense put up 12 as well. But, yeah, I mean, Kyle's team, Jonathan Taylor, it really hurts me to trade that guy away. I knew that he was destined to have a pretty decent year, and with how good the Colts are looking to start the year, it did kind of hurt me getting rid of him. But I know he's going to treat Kyle well. He's definitely a bell cow in this league. Debo with a really good performance. And then Connor's team, I mean, Bijan, T. Higgins, Devontae, Jalen Waddle with 15. So solid performances from some of Connor's guys, and he's a 2-0 as well. So kind of looking at the standings currently, I know it's early, but for right now, obviously the only teams that are undefeated are the Pokes. Connor, Jack, and Seth are the only guys in the league currently that are 2-0. So, and then how many 1-1s do we have, man? 8. So we have 8 guys that are 1-1 right now in the league, and then we have 3 that are 0-2 to start. So now overall, looking at the rankings right now, Connor's team's put up. Let's see here. who's been putting up the most points in the league so far. So it looks like Tuck's team has put up the most points in the league so far, but has also given up 201 points. So had a lot of points scored on him, but Andy, goodness, 240 points scored on Andy within the first 2 weeks. So that's a huge gap between the 180 that he has put up. So a lot of points scored on some of these guys down at the bottom currently. So, and then, I mean, I really don't care about this that much, but I'll still look at it, the final standings projections, because, I mean, it's just something to look at. It doesn't really mean anything because it's going to change on a week-to-week basis anyways. But currently, Connor's team is projected number 1. That hasn't changed. Jack's team's now projected number 2. And then you got Seth at 3. You got Kyle at 4. Chance at 5. Bryce at 6. You got Eason at 7. 8, we got Jace. 9, we got Tuck. 10, we got Bert. 11 is going to be me. 12 is Andy. 13 is Carson. And 14 is Dylan. So that's just kind of looking at the projection. Like I said, I just look at them from a week-to-week basis. Necessarily, it doesn't mean a lot until we get to the end of season. So, end of season will kind of give us, kind of towards the last 5 to 6 weeks is when I think that this is something to really look at more. So, I won't look at it every single week. I was just kind of curious where they had everyone standing at right now. So, anyways, I'll kind of got a couple matchups this week. We won't get it too in depth with them, okay? But obviously, me and Easton are going up against each other this week. We got Bert and Kyle. This is going to be a great matchup as well. We're looking at Carson and Seth this week. Carson needs a dub. I'm sure Carson's going to come out guns a-blazing, but he's taking on a really good team that Seth's got together so far. Obviously, the Joe Burrow injury is a big loss for Seth, but putting in Caleb Williams this week, we'll kind of see how that goes. You got Dylan and Chance playing this week. Dylan's also going to need to try to get a dub too, so he's going to be coming in hungry. You got Tuck and Connor. This is sneaky a good matchup right here. I do like how this matchup's going to be. So this arguably might be the matchup of the week right here. Then we got Jack and Andy. This could also be a potential for a matchup of the week too. Obviously, I think Andy's team is a lot better than, unfortunately, what he's been dealing with so far. So I think that he will bounce back. Obviously, taking some hits from running back right now, but and then last but not least, we got Jason Bryce. So definitely got some good matchups coming up this week, gentlemen. This is going to be a great week for fantasy football. I can feel it. Last week was an amazing week of fantasy football. We had some really good games in Red Zone. I mean, that Giants and Cowboys game was absolutely nuts. So, any feedback or anything from you guys? Let's see here. So, we got the fantasy cast. I'm just going to try to see. Yeah, Carson, I think you're going to get a dub this week, honestly. This might be a hot take, but personally, I think all the guys that are 0-2 in the league currently, I could see all three of them winning this week. And I think we're not going to have anyone that hasn't won by the end of this week. So, All right, what are we looking at so far? So obviously QBs, kind of looking at some of the top fantasy performers so far this year. Let's see here. So obviously looking at the QBs and everything, all the top QBs, Lamar's 1, Daniel Jones is 2. We got Josh Allen 3, Mahomes 4, Herbert 5. Herbert's been having a good year. James Cook is 6. So big, just an absolute massive performance from James Cook back-to-back weeks, and Malik Neighbors, that guy, number 1 right now. Yeah. After that massive week that he had, God, that was a crazy game. Jared Goff up there too, after putting up an insane performance this last week, just absolutely torching the Bears. Cowboys versus Bears prediction. Gosh, I'm leaning towards Cowboys, honestly. The Bears just don't really. They're not exciting, honestly. They don't. I don't know if Caleb Williams is the answer, honestly, and I hate to say that, but I genuinely just don't know if I'm a fan of Caleb Williams. And DeAndre Swift is showing who he is overall as a QB. Or as a running back. He's just an average running back. You don't really get a lot of upside with him. I was kind of saying something differently before the start of the season, but how it's played out so far, it doesn't really seem like he's doing much. And at least with the Cowboys, their offense is looking pretty solid. So the defense is another conversation, but I think that they're going to put up more points than the Bears this week. I don't see why they wouldn't, honestly. So. But yeah, I'm going to say Cowboys win 28-17. I think they beat them by double digits, honestly. Puka's had a monster year too for Seth. Number 2 current wide receiver right now. Let's look at you can filter it by. Can you not filter it? Oh, yeah, you can. Okay. So, looking at current... We'll start with running backs, actually. So, running backs that we have currently top of fantasy right now. James Cook, Javonte, Jonathan Taylor. Those 3 guys have been performing very well to start. Javonte's been by far the biggest surprise, especially for the value that you were getting him in drafts this year. Him being the number 1 back for the Cowboys, he's been putting up great performances, man. We look at it. He's had 19 and 22 to start the season. He's been playing out of his mind. And you look at who he was as a player before this, the years before, there was nothing remotely close to these kind of numbers that he's starting to put up. So maybe he just needed a change of scenery? I don't know. But, yeah, big performances from Javonte to start this season off. And then Jonathan Taylor, obviously, he's going to be continuing. He's going to be a top 5 running back in my mind this year if he stays healthy. Bijan's the same way. I think he's a top 5. And from a talent perspective, he's definitely up there with the most talented back in the NFL. McCaffrey, he's just got to stay healthy. But the thing is with him is he's going to put up absolute insane numbers every single week if he's healthy. Devon Achane's had a really good start to the season. He's been used heavily involved in the Miami offense. Travis Etienne's had a pretty solid year to start, 17 and 15 for him. Saquon, currently, for Saquon standards, 16-16, you'll take that from any running back, But with Saquon overall, we're still just kind of waiting to see that breakout game. Obviously, their schedule is very tough, but that breakout game could be happening sooner rather than later. We'll have to see. Chuba, With he had a 16 and 16, so he's been fairly consistent to start this season. I will say this though, with their center and they have another guy on their O line that is hurt as well. That's a concern for Chuba fantasy owners, which I believe is Easton. So that being said, with the O-line being beat up, the run game might not be as – we'll just have to see. But, if you have two starting O-lines not playing this next upcoming week, it's a big loss. So we'll just kind of have to see how all that plans out. And then Derrick Henry obviously had that big week 1 and then just busted in week 2. I mean, you saw the numbers that he's put up against the Browns in the past, and then him just not putting up a big week was just kind of a shocker. J.K. Dobbins, he's had a pretty solid start to the season. He's scored 13 and 15. Jaylen Warren, Gibbs, what has Gibbs been at so far? 10 and 17. Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irving, Alvin Kamara, James Conner, Dylan Sampson, Kyron Williams, Ramondre, Kenneth Walker, Nick Chubb, Breece Hall. Now, let's kind of look at who's been some disappointments so far. Probably have to go back to page 1, huh? Obviously, if you're still in here, obviously you're a little bit concerned with Omarion Hampton. I'll say this, he's a rookie, man. And with the amount of workload that he is getting in this backfield currently, I idealistically see him getting better and better as the year goes along. So I wouldn't be too worried. I mean, obviously there's got to be red flags that are going through your head with him right now, but from a talent perspective, this guy should end up performing at a better level once he gets more comfortable into the offense. And because, I mean, the Chargers look legit this year. The Chargers are looking really good for the first 2 weeks, and we're not going to overreact after the first 2 weeks because obviously the NFL, things can change in a week. But from what we've seen so far from the Chargers look legit, man. Justin Herbert's playing phenomenal. All the receivers are playing great. So, Tyrone Tracy, I will say this about Tyrone Tracy, Kyle. There was a reason I was hesitant to want him. And the reason being was because of who's behind his shoulder. That's Cam Skattebo. And from what it's looking like currently, Tyrone Tracy might have just lost the starting job for the Giants. Skattebo might end up taking the bulk of the workload this next upcoming week. So that's just kind of how I looked at it, and I knew that this was eventually going to happen. Did I think it was going to happen this soon? No, I didn't. But I think Cam Skattebo is going to end up taking over this backfield. And it could be this week. So, got to keep that in mind, obviously. The Austin Eckler injury, I mean, damn, it's sad. And hopefully, with how good he's been in fantasy all these years and everything, it is unfortunate to see something like that happen to this guy. But I will say, oh, man, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt's number 1 now, baby. Yeah. So, I'm very excited for my running back room now. I was a little worried about the trade, but I know I needed depth, and so that's why I did it. But I'm very excited about Jordan Mason just because of the aspect that you don't have Aaron Jones for the next 4 weeks. I'm very excited about Judkins. Judkins looked good the first week, only having 2 days of practice, and now he's getting a full week of practice, and now he's going to basically probably take a little bit more of a workload this next upcoming week. So a little iffy on if I want to start him or if I want to start Montgomery, because Montgomery's got a pretty tough matchup this week, but Judkins does too. I mean, they're playing Green Bay, so it's kind of a toss-up for me right there. But we'll just have to see, I guess. We'll look at wide receivers real quick. Wide receiver-wise, we got Malik, Puka, Amon-Ra, Rome Odunze, who's had a breakout year so far. Quentin Johnston has had a breakout season so far. Currently 5 in the receiver rankings. Zay Flowers having a great start to the season. You got Jamar Chase at 6. Debo's at 7. Wan'Dale Robinson's at 8. Just after that big week that he had. And, I mean, he had an 8-point performance his first week. So, I mean, idealistically, if we look at are the Giants going to be playing like this every single week? No. They're not going to be putting up 30 to 40 points every single week. That was just a massive, outlier to me. Massive outlier to me. So, that seems like a very fair trade. I might have to take that, dude. Steelers defense is nasty. I don't. That's one thing that is another conversation. The Steelers defense has not looked that great this year. I thought that they were going to be a top defense, but man, they've given up like 60 points in the first 2 weeks, which is you don't really ever see that from a Steelers defense under Mike Tomlin. So it's very interesting. Buka's had a great start to the season. He did have that touchdown in week 2 as well. Kind of helped save his fantasy performance. Keenan Allen. That guy. Keenan Allen's had a good start to the year as well. Now, obviously, his AC joint's stuck up. I mean, which that shit was scary looking. It almost looks like he's got like spikes coming out, kind of like Undertaker. But yeah, that was crazy to see that. But as long as he stays healthy, I think he's going to perform. I think it was literally he just needed to get back on the Chargers, man. Troy Franklin's 15 right now. I just picked him up. But he did have that big performance this last week. I mean, he had 89 yards, 8 receptions for a touchdown, 1 carry for 11 yards. But yeah, obviously we're going to see a lot of differences in these on a week-to-week basis with just some of the guys that we're seeing. I mean, De'Ami Brown is 22 right now. This is what I'm talking about. George Pickens is 33. Now, the tight ends are just an absolute shit show right now. But I will say this. I am glad that I have the number 1 tight end in fantasy right now. I'm shocked. I was pretty like I did like Tucker Kraft this year. I'm glad to see that big week for him. Zach Ertz is 2. Juwan Johnson 3. Tyler Warren 4. I mean, was Zach Ertz drafted? Yeah, he was drafted in 204th. Juwan Johnson wasn't drafted. Yeah, Juwan Johnson was out of the waivers. And then Tyler Warren, obviously massive pickup. He's having a good season. Trey McBride, Kelsey. Brock Bowers was hurt week 2, so I do think he will end up bouncing back. I mean, the guy's a stud, so I'm sure he'll be performing a lot better going forward. But yeah, the tight end is just there's so many like busts so far. Fortunately, the George Kittle injury is huge, but David Njoku's been somewhat of a bust so far to start the season. Man, TJ Hawkinson too. Can't forget about that guy. He's been a bust this year as well. And then QB-wise, we kind of already looked at the QBs, but Lamar's 1. And then we got free agent, Russell Wilson. How many points did he put up? 30? He put up 30 that week. And Lamar got 29 and 26. Daniel Jones has put up 29 and 22. Josh Allen, obviously, he didn't have a good week too, but 38. And then Mahomes is surprisingly actually haven't been doing too bad, 25-22. Yeah, Jalen Hurts disappointed me this last week, dude. Only fucking 11, dude. That's a disappointment for him. So Cam Ward has been the worst out of everyone so far when it comes to a fantasy perspective. But yeah, overall, I mean, just kind of wanted to look at a couple different things today. I am a little tired, so if the mood's a little bit down, I do apologize. What a trade that is. I might consider that. Well, I'll do some deep diving. I'll do my research, and I'll see if that's something I actually want to do. But like I said, man, everyone that's in this and everyone who watches this video, if you want to be a part of the podcast, let me know. Reach out to me. You let me know when you have time to do this podcast, and if it fits my schedule, let's do it. I'd love to have more guests on this pod. I really do appreciate everyone that tuned in today. We're going to keep going through this. We're going to keep trying to make as much videos as I can as possible. I got a super busy schedule. I do work a lot. But when I do have time, I do want to make sure that I try to get these videos out to y'all. Try to give you some of my fantasy advice and just check fantasy football in general. I want to make this a place where if y'all need any information about fantasy football, you can watch it here. So, and obviously, I'm going to keep trying to make this channel a lot better. I'll do some better editing and stuff like that just to make some more topics and everything, get this more exciting. Just got to do some deep dive research and figure out some steps to get there. But everyone, appreciate y'all watching today. Y'all have a good weekend. Let's have a great week 3 of fantasy football. You may